Well, good morning, y'all strangers. Y'all strangers, and I think we have some new strangers in here. I see some names I haven't seen in a while. I'm not buying it. Girlfriend, we have missed you. I'm not buying it. Her son recently passed away. Can we all give her some love and hugs in here? Because we've all been through loss. But a child is something totally different. Good morning, Stephen's Adventure. Good morning. Today we have it's a big day for someone in this chat. I can say that. Hey, Gaelic. Just Cat. Brooks certainly won't be blackmailed, so off you pop. Who's blackmailing me today? I mean, I started the show a little early. Woo! Blackmail. What is going on? Sonia Allen. Love you, girlfriend. Glad you're here. Hey, Turtle. Hey, Casper. I think I told everybody else hi when we started the show. What to do? Well, today we're going to talk about something that really gets in my crawl space, if you know what I mean. And that is when kids are labeled as runaways, as if they don't matter. You get a whole grid search, you get the whole 9 yards when a child wanders off. Now, we know abduction is a totally different animal. That's a totally different investigation. And then there's investigations where they believe there's some foul play in the house. But when a child is labeled as a runaway, it's treated different. The families don't seem to cooperate either. And that's because if someone truly ran away, they ran away for a reason. Recently in Oklahoma City, we had a case. Little Stephanie. And turns out she was with her ex-boyfriend's mom. She was at their house for a while. I called the detective live on this show. Yes, I truly called the detective. It wasn't one of Greg's friends. And he was like, if we knew where to look. Makes sense now. Because these families do not cooperate. Now, I do not believe Sebastian ran away. Just my opinion. But we're going to go through it because it seems like he has been labeled as a child that just walked out of his house. Just walked away. But first, let's take a second. I'm going to drop the link for Angel P. Let's take a second and let's tell everyone, hola. So glad you all are here. I dropped the link for Angel P because she has an amazing voice. Today is my husband's birthday. Yes. DT Driver took another trip around the sun. And he's had a really rough year this year. Had some different things go on at work. His father passed away. And, well, bought me and OJ a house. Deals with me, okay? So that's a given. But I just want to say that I love my husband very much. I am so sorry that, some people are dragging you into things that have nothing to do with you. Well, hell, they have nothing to do with me either. But let's bring up our friend Angel P, and we're all going to sing happy birthday. Hello, my friend.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Uh-oh. Bruno, be quiet.
Hang on, does Bruno want to sing?
Honey, it would be very, very ugly.
Well, and look at this.
What
P.E.
is it?
Girl. Today is her husband and hers anniversary. 37 years. Let's have a big round of applause for P.E. Island Girl. 37 years of marriage. Congratulations, P.E. Island Girl. Even if I put all my marriages together, it wouldn't come up to 30 years. But I picked a winner this time, and one of my BFF here, Angel P, is going to serenade him. Go for it.
Now, do you want the Marilyn Monroe happy birthday version or the just a regular version, or like what do you want, girl?
You know what? You just surprised us. You're the artist.
Oh yeah, okay. Alrighty. Is he in here?
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty. Hang on a minute. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Truck Driver Gregory. Happy birthday to you.
Woo! That was awesome! That was amazing. Mermaid said, "Gosh, Angel, you are so talented. You ought to hear her sing Coal Miner's Daughter."
Ain't doing it right now, baby love. I'm not doing it right now. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Well, if you want to stay up here, you want to get in chat, because I'm going to get to the show.
I'm going to drop on down, darling.
All right, girlfriend. Love you.
Love you.
All right, you guys, let's talk. Karma said, Brooks just blew my eardrum. Damn it, why do Okies do that? You know what I mean? You can be at the come and go, and you're just having a normal conversation, or the Quick Trip or the Brahms, and all of a sudden some Okie comes in and will just blast your eardrum. I'm not the only one in Oklahoma that has not ever gone through that. So Karma, I will try to keep it on the down low. I promise I will. She knows what I'm talking about, especially when you see someone that you know. Hell, I don't care if they just live across the street from you. I can see Linda over at the come and go, and I'm like, Linda! And all of a sudden people are like, oh my gosh, calm it down. You've got to stop. You've got to stop. All right. Let's do a poll first. Should the children that are labeled as runaways get the same attention as other cases? Now, I'm not talking about actual abductions, because we know that's a totally different animal. Can't be treated the same. A child wanders off, and we almost have like a military grid search. A kid is labeled a runaway. To me, they're just as endangered as a child lost in the woods or a child that the family says just can't find? Because in my opinion, runaways are extremely vulnerable because there's something going on at home. They can get into drugs. They can get trafficked. They can get into a lot of things. I have been very upset about the case of Trinity since it broke that she was found. I didn't know she was missing. Shame on me. I had no idea. You know why we didn't know? Because she was labeled a runaway. Okay, she's labeled a runaway. But she was murdered. She was murdered. Now, what do you think happened to Sebastian? Do you think he truly just got pissed off at the Proud Feets and walked out the door? Or do you think he is endangered? I mean, I know there's an Amber Alert. Let's start with Trinity, and we're going to go back and forth. I don't like to cross cases, but sometimes I have to because it makes sense. Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is where Sebastian's missing from as well. And the police don't have anything to go on. He just walked out the door, right? That's what his family says. He just walked out the door. Court documents have revealed new details into the death of 17-year-old Trinity Bostic. She was reported missing on June 29, 2024 in Macon County, and her remains were found in July by a Tennessee Department of Transportation worker. On July 4th, an autopsy was conducted, and it was found that she had been shot in the head. Nobody runs away to get shot in the head, my friends. That does not happen. After positively identifying Bostic, her cell phone records were obtained and linked with the phone number of suspect 17-year-old Fernando Perales Mejia. Okay, don't know who he is, but anyway. Is that him walking out? Nope, that's Aquaman. According to court documents, a search warrant was obtained for Mejia's phone records, and after they were compared to Bostic's, it was found that the devices met up around 2:30 p.m. on June 29th and traveled the same routes until just before 11 p.m. His vehicle was also captured on several license plate readers throughout Hendersonville. On July 6th, a warrant was executed. Per documents, the search of his residence found a 9mm loaded magazine in a black bag containing the victim's belongings. But she was labeled as a runaway. Now, this is freaking ridiculous. She was labeled as a runaway. She was murdered. We keep getting the same old about Sebastian. He just walked out the front door. He had no shoes on. All his shoes are accounted for. He just walked out, a winter night. Just walked out the front door. So how serious are our teenagers being taken? We don't see a piss of care given from Sebastian's parents. And I have some doubts about Trinity's as well. Because why weren't they on the news? Why weren't they saying, hell no, she didn't run away. We have a great home here. She could be with a friend. She was murdered. Let's look at this.
For the first time from friends and loved ones of the 17-year-old girl found dead in Hendersonville. Police have arrested and charged a teenager in connection to her death. The victim's friends spoke with our Steve Mailing at the high school today. And Steve, tell us what they told you.
Yeah, well, Lydia, Trinity's friends continue to emphasize to me that she did not deserve to die. They're now trying to navigate an immense feeling of grief, knowing their friend will no longer walk the same halls with them come next school year. Macon County High School is quiet this time of year. Even though students are home, they've had to come together in recent days.
It felt like my world fell apart. It doesn't feel real at all.
These poor kids. I was a junior in high school, and a girl I went to high school with died in a car accident. Looking at that empty desk just made my chest hurt, you know? This girl had everything going for her. She was active in her church. She had a job. She loved school, but she ran away. She has friends. Law enforcement cannot keep labeling teenagers as just random runaways, thinking they're just going to come back home because of their age, instead of putting all hands on deck and investigating. This girl was murdered. And this BS about Sebastian just walking out the door with no shoes, colossal popcorn, all that stuff. You can't tell me that the Proud Feets are saying too much to law enforcement. I'm sure they've been talked to umpteen times. But what about their story makes sense?
It's just very hard.
JC Metter and Chloe Redfield are still in shock after they learned their friend, 17-year-old Trinity Bostic, was the girl found dead in Hendersonville on July 4th.
For someone who was so loving and caring, that was undeserved.
Trinity was reported missing in Macon County back on June 30th. At the time, both JC and Chloe said they had grown suspicious of where she'd gone.
It's very not like her to just go off the grid.
JC says Trinity's phone was eventually pinged in Sumner County, and she hoped for the best.
It just said, couldn't deliver. And it was like, I think that's when I kind of knew that something had happened.
Instead of planning a senior year.
Damn, her friends were investigating more than the investigators. There was no Amber Alert. There was nothing like that going on. Now, we have different Amber Alerts here in Oklahoma. We have different Amber Alerts here. There's different criteria in pretty much every state. It's hard to keep it straight because, so many people say, why is there no Amber Alert? It depends on the state. But we have a lot that says endangered runaway. Endangered runaway. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of people see endangered runaway, they roll their eyes and go, well, whatever, go back home. Then just go back home. Why am I going to be bothered with that? Just find a new phrase. Because when it's problems at home, people do not take it seriously. And it looks to me that the police don't take it too seriously.
Here together, JC, Chloe, and an entire community are grieving the loss of another young Macon County teen.
I've been class president all 4 years, and every year we've had somebody in our grade pass away. Each year I've tried to learn how to deal with it better and how to help the family.
Landon Connor says in response to her death, he set up a GoFundMe to help the family with costs. They're also working to see if they can memorialize Trinity in some way for the upcoming school year. A 17-year-old Westmoreland teen was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in connection with Trinity's death, a death that's shaken the people she loved, the same people who loved her just as much.
Every time I was around her, she was so bright. She was the light in my life.
Well, Trinity's visitation and funeral service start at 11 on Tuesday morning. There's also a GoFundMe set up for the family, as we mentioned in that story. We have a link to that over on our WSMV4 News app. Lydia.
Horrible. Jenny Lang said it's because Sebastian is a teen, which is done a lot and is so wrong. A vulnerable teen minor is no different than a vulnerable toddler minor. You don't just fluff off a missing child or teen. They're still kids. Now, obviously, if a 2-year-old gets outside, they don't really have the skills. They're not as equipped as, let's say, a 16-year-old. They don't have friends they can call. They don't know how to go to the door and say, hey, can I hang out here while my mom's driving me nuts? But I'm really tired of the runaway rhetoric. I don't like it. And the way that it looks to me with Sebastian, there's no evidence. No evidence is your evidence. Think about that. There's no evidence. Well, then there's your evidence. That means you need to start digging in on what was going on at home. No one, unless they want to. And kids, no. People don't just vanish. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. There has been some recent information in Sebastian's case. Like I said, we're going to be going back and forth between Trinity and Sebastian because I don't like how these cases are labeled. I don't like it. Pat K, she smells what I'm stepping in. She says, absence of evidence tells a story. No evidence. That is your evidence. That's really it. This is crazy. Carly with an eye, where you been, girlfriend? She said, thank you, Brooke. Say it again for the folks in the back. Okie Bree, no evidence is evidence of foul play, in my opinion. They finally got to that in Summer Wells' case in Hawkins County. It took them a while to tell the public that they can't rule out foul play, so it's a criminal investigation. Sebastian's case, they won't call criminal. It's just an investigation, just a plain old investigation. He just walked out the door, we guess. I mean, his mom said she gave the good old pinky swear, and she told us that he didn't take his shoes, and he just walked out. No one can find him. Dogs don't scent him or anything. We have no evidence. Well, then that means you got a snake in the hen house. All right, Seth has been continuing his search, and he has found some things of interest. Now, I hope these things have been turned over to law enforcement. I'm going to assume they have. I just want to get that out before anyone asks. So let's see what's going on here.
Also have new information after a search for a missing teenager, Sebastian Rogers. His father holding another search Thursday. Now, officials telling News 2 they wrapped today after 4 days of searching. Investigators also say they covered at least 20 miles on the Cumberland River and used side imaging sonar in their search. Now, we do know some things of interest were found, but they did not go into detail on what exactly they were.
Okay. They're using sonar. They found things of interest. So they're going to have to get the powers that be to investigate what they found. There is not a missing person on this planet that there's no evidence as to what happened to them. Sorry, no. I just do not like how these cases with children are handled in a lot of jurisdictions. I just don't. Paper Slut said he's curious as to what things of interest could be found after 4 months. That's what I want to know too. So I don't know what Seth came across. I don't know how Seth knows how to use Sonar or any of that stuff. And I know better than to say anything about Seth, because shit, I'll get dogpiled. But he found things of interest. I've heard some rumors as to what they are. I would think as a father, if you pulled up a shoe, you would know if it's Sebastian's or not. If you pulled up a backpack, you would know if it's Sebastian's or not. I don't know. So whatever things of interest, knowing, his age, you would be able to identify if they're Sebastian's or not. True story. And God forbid, I couldn't imagine this happening. If something happened to one of my sons, if the police asked me to identify anything of theirs, I probably wouldn't know because, well, they're adults and they buy their own clothes and they buy their own shoes. True. All right, so now we get to this. They're saying search crews have narrowed down locations in efforts to find Sebastian Rogers. We're probably going to have to go through this a couple of times because I caught some things in this that didn't really jive with my soul.
Refuses to give up on his missing son. 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers disappeared nearly 5 months ago, and his father, Seth, is still searching. Good evening and welcome to News 2 at 6. I'm Bob Mueller.
And I'm Haley Wilgus. Sebastian's father told News 2's Caitlin Quisenberry they're operating this like a recovery effort, even though he believes Sebastian is still alive.
Memorial Park was one of the first places Seth Rogers tells me he searched for his son, Sebastian. He says this place is Sebastian's favorite.
Almost 2 months ago, this bridge was lit up in Sebastian's favorite color, green, in hopes of his safe return home. At that time, he had been missing for 2 months. Today, the search continues, almost 5 months later.
Now, I'm not an Adventures with Purpose fan. I will never, ever, ever co-sign for Jared. Never. But Doug knows what he's doing. If Seth doesn't know how to use the sonar correctly, and I'm not saying anything about Seth and his nautical skills, he might need some help out there because he might not know what he's looking at through the sonar. But I have a huge announcement. Okie Bree just gifted 5 Crime Lines and Lies memberships. My goodness. You all, if you received a membership from Okie Bree, grab your umbrella, you all, give her a big hug and a big thank you. You have, okay, let me tell you something right now. If OJ went missing and I thought he might be in the water, well, good luck there because OJ won't even go outside if it's rained. And I said, listen, I'm going to get a John boat and some sonar. See, I have a problem using a damn fish finder, okay? I really do. I can't tell what I'm looking at. Is anyone in here? Maybe Zach Walker can help me, but he's not in here right now. I can't use a fish finder. I know there's been a lot of issues with people saying he needs help with this sonar. We can get him some help. He said himself he needs help with it.
For 2 months. Today, the search continues, almost 5 months later.
People think that we're not searching anymore. Well, they can think whatever they want. Our searches are private.
Seth tells me after a herniated disc surgery, it is back to boots on the ground. He
should keep his searches private. He really should. And I don't know what he's using here. I know Tony, TikTok Tony, is helping him. And so he's out on the boat and looking at this computer screen. I can tell you right now, he's doing 1,000 times more than the Proud Feet all together. I mean, all together. So if he needs help, there are people with equipment that can help him. Now, he's saying that Sebastian is still alive. Well, he can't be alive in the water.
Says today, over 40 searchers, vetted by his private investigator, will be eliminating locations Sebastian could be in Middle Tennessee.
Now I don't really have much stopping me from getting out there and doing what I need to do.
There's a refocus. We're trying to zero in on more specific information that we are gathering.
Seth tells me his search parties have.
God, this dickhead. This Tony Mathis. I tell you what, people love to talk about my personal life. I wouldn't let this man near the farmer's market in Kiefer, Oklahoma. He is such a scammer. I'm telling you. He is something else. He really is. People want to talk about earn the burn. You could put them neck and neck. Damn, look at that. His head looks like an inverted penis.
We're trying to zero in on more specific information that we are gathering.
Seth tells me his search parties have become invite only due to chaos at previous searches.
They're private because we learned last time. You know, we had people following my searchers around that were just handing out flyers, and it doesn't bode well for people who are trying to help to be put into hostile situations.
But he says the goal today is not to find Sebastian.
The search that we're doing today is a recovery effort, and I'm praying that we don't find him.
Seth says he believes his son is alive, but he added some people still don't know Sebastian is missing.
We have to continue to hand out flyers until everybody knows.
Seth and Tony tell me they have one unanswered question for the Sumner County Sheriff's Office.
We think it's a valid question. We think it's a fair question. And that question is, are you any closer today to finding Sebastian Rogers than you were February 26th?
And for Seth, the answer to that question is no.
My son's not here, so we're nowhere closer.
If you have seen Sebastian or have information about his whereabouts, call the Sumner County Sheriff's Office or the TBI. Those numbers are listed on our website, WKRN.com.
God bless him. God bless him. My goodness. Stacy, girlfriend, what are you doing making it rain? I need some rain, don't you guys? Okay, now we're going to get back to Trinity because both cases really hack me off. But I can tell you right now, Trinity, the ball was dropped. I mean, it was dropped. She didn't run away. I would go as far as to say she was kidnapped and murdered. She didn't want to be with this kid. She had everything to live for. She wasn't trying to run away from home. And when you go and you label these kids as they just walked out the front door, had no shoes on, I'm sure they'll come back. They must have gone to be with a friend or whatever. Listen, endangered teens, and I'm not trying to label anything, they can be in danger a danger to themselves and a danger to society because they do have the smarts to survive. I prefer not to get robbed at the come and go by a runaway looking for some quick cash. Okay? They need to be wrangled up and taken somewhere safe with a quickness. I do not like this willy-nilly. Well, they just ran away. I'm sure they'll come home. That is bullshit. Bullshit. And these parents are like, well, they just ran away. Shut up. You should know they're friends. Like in the case in Oklahoma City, I'm still pissed at that family. I'm still pissed at them. How did they not know Stephanie wasn't communicating with the ex-boyfriend? They could have found her their damn selves. The police had to do all their own legwork because they had no help from the family. But in this case, this poor girl is labeled a runaway. Again, I believe she was kidnapped because she was murdered.
Worst nightmare. A teenage girl goes missing, and a few days later, she's found dead in the woods. And worse yet, in this case, another teen, a classmate of hers, is charged with her murder. Did he kill her? And if he did, why? And how will the classmates and her family live with this tragedy?
Who is the girl in Florida? Someone remind me of her name. She snuck out of the house with a boy. It has lost my mind. I cannot think of her name. She was labeled a runaway. The boy killed her. He killed her. And his mom tried to cover up the crime. His mom washed his clothes. She did all kinds of things. I'll think of it in a second. I think her name's Tristan or something like that. Cheerleader. I don't know. True Crime Beat can find it. She's really quick about things. It's going to drive me crazy if not. And I don't have far to go.
We're going to dive into the details and talk with family law attorney Matt Hinson right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Macon County High School in Tennessee had ended for the summer. Students were looking forward to kicking back, enjoying their break.
Okay, thank you, G of Twins. I have missed you, by the way. Aiden is the boy, Tristan Bailey. Yeah. Ran away because she snuck out of the house. So she just ran away. She had nothing to run away from. Stop with the runaway label. I know there's another creator that says, never give an Amber Alert to a kid that ran away. Listen. There's too many runaways. Kids that are labeled as runaways that turned up murdered.
But for one 17-year-old and her family and friends, that was not to be. On July 3rd, Trinity Bostic, a girl described as a firecracker, someone who would light up any room she walked into, kind-hearted, smart, someone who had her whole life in front of her, was found dead. Her body was discovered by a Tennessee Department of Transportation worker who was picking up trash along Vietnam Veterans Boulevard in Hendersonville. Her cause of death is still being investigated, but what we do know is that a teenage boy has been arrested in connection with her death, facing a charge of first-degree murder. I'm going to lay out the timeline of events for you as laid out by reporting in this case. So on June 29th, Trinity had done something out of character. Her friend Chloe Redfield remembers, quote, she actually had texted me that she was running away from home. So Chloe kept trying to call Trinity, but when she didn't answer, Chloe grew suspicious since it wasn't like her friend to just go off the grid. Now, Chloe said she didn't.
Now I wonder if this text that Trinity sent to her friend saying, "I'm running away from home," is true. Because we know that her and the boy couldn't have plans to go to Vegas and get married, run off and start a new life. I think he sent it. I think this was all planned because he couldn't have what he wanted. And what he wanted is this beautiful girl on the screen, and that is Trinity. I believe that was faked. As we heard in that news article, their phones were in sync. She sends a text, he sends a text, they're in the same area. I mean, the whole 9 yards. I believe he sent that text.
Didn't really believe that Trinity had disappeared until the sheriff's office for Macon County came knocking at her door at 10 that night. So the Macon County Sheriff's Department, they had received a runaway report. They traced Trinity's phone to Sumner County, which is about an hour away, and they sent out a bolo, be on the lookout. But here's a question. Does any of that make sense? Did Trinity really run away? Her friends described her as someone who was
This is so common. And this isn't a pick on Tennessee conversation. This is a pick on every community. They've run away. She sent a text to her friends saying she ran away. At what point do they stop investigating? Be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. See, it's not taken serious by the community because they assume it's just some bratty teen that wants to go do their own thing. This needs to be changed and taken real serious. A bolo. A friggin' bolo. She was kidnapped and murdered. They had time to track them down. They could have saved her life. They could have saved her life. When they got that phone call, they could have saved her life. It was several hours from when she supposedly ran away to when she was murdered. They could have tracked her down and saved her life.
excited about graduating the following year, a smart girl, a hard worker, loving, caring. She enjoyed music, fashion, working on cars with her father at his auto body shop. So why would she just pick up and leave, right? And as we know, her remains are found in a small wooded area near a road. So something's not making sense here about all this. Now, Trinity's friends and family, they're in shock. And you know what also makes this incredibly sad is that reportedly this wasn't the first Macon County student to lose their life. No, class president Landon Connor said that in the past 4 years, a student had passed away each year from different causes. In this case, we have a suspect. And as I mentioned, Hendersonville police, they have arrested and charged a 17-year-old classmate of Trinity's. Now, police, they haven't released his identity because he's a minor, but he is being held in Sumner County where Trinity's body was found. Trinity's friend Chloe said that the boy had gone to high school with them. And Landon Connor, again, the class president, said he was in their grade, that he talked to him a couple of times, but didn't really know him. Hendersonville police said they do suspect foul play here in connection with Trinity's death, but it didn't elaborate any further. They did release a statement saying in order to maintain the integrity of the investigation, that's why they're not releasing any more information. But anybody with information about Trinity or how her body wound up near that road,
too little, too late. Anyone with information about Trinity or how her body wound up near that road is asked to call the Henderson Police Department. Are you kidding me? When you were told that a teen was missing in your area, it shouldn't have led to finding a body. You should have been investigating then, not saying, oh, they just ran away, they'll come home. We'll get CPS. I hate that CPS shit. I can't stand that CPS shit. They're not law enforcement. Oh, we'll get juvenile services. Why? You can't handle a kid? You must be out of your mind.
Is asked to call the Hendersonville Police Department at 615-822-1111 or the Hendersonville Crime Stoppers at 615-594-4113. Hey, everybody. This episode's Sidebar is sponsored by Truth Finder. And it makes sense since we cover a lot of stories where we ask, how well do we really know the people in our lives? It's a scary thing to think about. Well, Truth Finder is a service that can maybe provide you some answers because it's one of the largest public records search services in the United States. You go on their website, truthfinder.com, and you type in a name, and within minutes and a paid subscription purchase, you can access unlimited reports that could include information like phone numbers, location history, criminal and traffic records, including possible arrests and criminal convictions. Also, if you type in an address within the report, it can show you the registered sex offenders that may live in that area, which honestly is just kind of wild to see. So whether it's researching new dates or friends or reconnecting with people, Truth Finder is a great tool to use. And right now, you can get 50% off the first month of confidential background reports. Just go to truthfinder.com/LC sidebar. So to help make sense of this crime, which is really, it seems impossible to do because it seems, how do you make sense of this? But I do have a lot of questions, and I think a lot of us have a lot of questions. I want to talk to family law attorney Matt Henson, who has, unfortunately, specific experience in this area because Matt has represented the family of Tristan Bailey. That was that 13-year-old Florida girl who was brutally killed by her classmate, then 14.
Well, shit. Had I just waited a minute, I would have had it. This is what happens when I don't watch something before I put it on the show for all of us to go through together. But yes, she was labeled as a runaway. And again, this whole stuff with Sebastian, he just walked out the door. He just walked out the door.
15-year-old Aiden Fucci.
Look at that fool. Look at him. I think about Lily Peters in Wisconsin. I think because of her age and, you know, the fact that she was riding her bike from her aunt's house back to her house, which was common. Investigators kind of went a different way. They thought someone might have snatched her off the bike. They didn't think for a minute that her own cousin tracked her down and did what he did. And it was horrific. Goodness, look at him. Hopefully they have pimple cream there in that jail. I cannot believe that kid. He's a real psychopath. He really is.
We actually produced a whole Prime Crime episode on it where we spoke with Tristan Bailey's family. Matt, good to see you. What is your initial impression of a story like this?
It's sad. It's gut-wrenching that we're seeing this yet again in our society, and unfortunately, we're seeing more and more cases of things like this in the media, in our local communities as well. So my heart, and I can tell you the family of Tristan Bailey, their heart goes out to Trinity's family as well.
They're aware of the case. Have they offered support in any way to Trinity's family?
It's such a new case. It's out there in the media. I haven't had a chance to speak with them on any specifics yet, but I can tell you from the standpoint of the foundation, and I'm the president of the Tristan Bailey Foundation as well. We do offer victim advocacy services to any family anywhere. in the United States that is going through this, where they've lost a child, and dealing with the media aspect of it, as well as what they have to expect from prosecutors.
I was going to ask you that in terms of what her family and friends are going through, what are the services your foundation can provide? Do you believe that retaining an attorney at this point in time is a wise decision? I mean, what would an attorney help with? What are some of the issues they're now navigating?
The primary issues they're now navigating, and this is what we as a larger community need to understand and remember, is the primary issues they're dealing with is grief. They're dealing with the grieving, and it's not just their family, but all of the children in that community are dealing with a massive grief. And they need to focus on that, number one. Number two, whether or not the family needs an attorney, that's really kind of a specific issue for whatever the circumstances are in the case.
I think her family does need an attorney. Now, I know that I've never done it personally. It's almost impossible to sue the powers that be. Okay, it is. It's almost impossible to sue the police. It happens, don't get me wrong. To sue CPS, it's hard to do that. I think her parents should get an attorney, because while they were just labeling her a runaway, they had ample time had they done their police work. And you all know I back the blue. You know I do. But I don't back the blue no matter who. They had ample time to find her. She wasn't that far away. Don't ever think I'm one of those defund the police people, because that's not going to happen around here. But in this case, she did not run away. I believe that message was sent from that sociopath. And she was murdered. And imagine the man that came across her body.
My role in helping all of the families that I've worked with, and it's not just Tristan Bailey's family, I've worked with others in other states, is assisting with just understanding the process, because the process in the criminal justice system is very defendant oriented, is oriented towards their rights. And so there'll be a lot of things, I think you just mentioned, that prosecutors and police will be tight-lipped on, because they need to protect the integrity of that investigation and the ultimate prosecution. And so helping explain that process to them is useful, so that they understand properly what they should plan on seeing and hearing over the coming, what could be years of the criminal process playing out.
Generally speaking, at this point, do you see that while law enforcement might not speak to the media or the public about what's happening in the investigation, do they let the family know? Or is there a concern that if you let the family know, then the information might, go out further, and that ultimately it might be shared with the wrong people? I mean, I would imagine, I think the right thing to do here is to let the family know what's happening. You don't have to let everybody else know, but let the family know. And I imagine a lawyer could be a good liaison between the family and law enforcement. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, and that is certainly a concern that law enforcement is going to have, is how much information they can share. They want to share. I can tell you that. Law enforcement and prosecutors, they do what they do because they care. And they care not just about their case, but they care about the victims. And the victims in this it's not just Trinity. It is the family and the community. So they want to be able to provide those resources, especially before they get brought out to the media.
They need to provide all the resources when they get the call that says a child has ran away. Now, if it's a true runaway situation, a true runaway, it still needs to be all hands on deck. And don't get me wrong, we do not have we don't have enough police to take care of all the cases they have. I got it. I got it. They don't have the support they need. They don't have the money they need. You can deliver packages for Amazon. You're not going to have the pension. You're not going to have the benefits, but you're going to have more cash than you have as a police officer. But if you're there doing the job and you get the phone call that says, my 14-year-old daughter isn't here. Well, did she run away? Is there problems in the home? Maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe mama's maybe mama sits there and she takes pills all day. Who knows? Who knows? But they're in danger one way or another.
They want to provide that information to them as best they can, but in no way, shape, or form do they want to do so that would compromise anything about bringing justice for Trinity.
And to be clear, I think it's important sometimes for these families to have representation, to explain the process to them, because even if you talk about a trial, what they could be exposed to at a trial. Also, the legal system can be very frustrating when there's delays in a case. I mean, we've talked about it before with the Brian Koberger case, how frustrating that is for that family there that they haven't seen a trial yet. And we just covered a case another day where a family is very frustrated about the idea of a defendant who may be offered a plea deal, so it doesn't go to trial. So there's a lot of the legal system. Like, I'm a lawyer, I'm an attorney. I think that the legal system is fantastic, but it's not perfect. And there's things that I think it's a really good avenue to have some legal representation to explain certain aspects of this. You mentioned something to me before that you were seeing this a lot. Why are we seeing this a lot? If we're talking about, and look, to be very clear, we don't have a lot of information yet about what happened. But assuming this is a classmate of Trinity's, what could possibly be a motive here? What have we seen in other similar cases?
It's really hard to speculate on what the motive would be. I've seen various motives, from jealousy to love, and then sometimes just outright sociopathic behavior. The motive is not anything that we can understand as rational people and reasonable people. But it's probably too early to speculate what the motive would be in this particular situation. But kind of going back to your original question, why are we seeing more of this? I don't know. And I think that's a question for psychologists and individuals who are really going to have.
Stupid. She didn't run away. I do not believe that message was from her. I think it was from the guy who is her classmate. Took her out into the woods and killed her. That's what I think. She's dead either way. You don't run away to go get murdered. Let's go back to our teenage years when we would sneak out of the house. Go hang out with some friends at the end of the street. Go make out with a boy or whatever happens. Sneak out with our dad's beer. I was guilty of that. You don't sneak out of the house to get murdered. No.
Have to be studying what's happening with our youth today, because it's very different than what we've seen before.
Let me ask you this question. In the cases that you're seeing across the country, and would you agree with me that we are seeing a higher rate of homicides amongst U.S. teenagers? I think I've seen some statistics to indicate that. What are some of the reasons? Is it a relationship? Is it, two people who are in a relationship, classmates in a relationship? Is it jealousy? Is it something else? Again, we cover a number of different crimes here on our programs. Some of them are older adults who, whether it's financial motive or a relationship or something else. Do we see those kind of similar factors in teen homicides? Because again, it's just really so upsetting and disturbing to hear about.
I think we see those similar motives. I think they're a lot more emotionally related in what we're seeing in some of the teen homicides, specifically when it's teen on teen violence. I wish we had an answer, and I'm sure that we can pontificate on this all day, and so can sociologists. But I think, yes, we are seeing more. It appears very obvious. I don't know how much of that is related to we have more media, so we have more access to that information than we used to. But it certainly seems like we are seeing much more of this happening across our country, whether it's a mass shooting or whether it's an individual one-on-one situation like it is with Trinity.
And by the way, we might sometimes never get a full answer as to why something happened. I think we can all agree that why Tristan Bailey was killed still is a point of mystery and makes absolutely no sense. But going back to Trinity for a second.
I can tell you why. You're looking at two very pretty girls who did not take the advances of two fugly boys. And when they got them alone, they didn't get what they wanted. And they did the unthinkable. I don't need a show like Law and Crime to put this together. You've got to be kidding me. And teenage girls especially can be real vulnerable. And some of them never grow out of it. Have to be the people pleaser. Oh, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him. Okay, I'll go. I'll go out with him real quick. The next thing you know, a text message comes out. I ran away. The friend was like, this doesn't sound like her. Then next thing you know, the police were like, well, she ran away. She'll come back. They'll get it figured out. Be on the lookout if anyone sees Trinity. But in the meantime, she's been hauled off somewhere. And in the middle of this, her life ends. No, they got to do better.
How do you speak to the family at a time like this? How do you speak to the friends of Trinity at a time like this? It seems almost unimaginable. How do you have a conversation with them at this point? What do you try to talk to them about it? How do you try to, this is so fresh. This just happened. How does that conversation usually go?
I don't think it's much of a conversation. I think if you're close with the family, all you're doing is letting them know that you're there to for whatever they need. You're sorry, and you're there for whatever they need, and they'll let you know if there's something that you can do to help them. They'll let you know. But I think the most important thing is that they know that they are backed. They know that they're not alone in the community, and just letting them know that. From a bigger scale perspective, if you don't know them, I think that one of the most important things that you can do is give them their space, allow them to grieve, and respect their privacy if they don't want to talk. If they do want to talk, let them talk. But if they don't, just respect their privacy as they go through this grieving process, because the grieving process is real. And anyone that's never been through it, which fortunately I have not personally, but I've seen others go through it. It's very important that they have the space that they want.
I think that's a very well.
I'm turning that off. She didn't run away. She didn't run away. I've done my homework. Do your homework, Jesse Weber. And I mean, I do like him. Don't get me wrong. I do. But I mean, she didn't run away. I do not like the runaway label. I don't like it. Runaways are looked at as like future felons of America. They've got problems at home. They ran away. They're probably doing drugs. They're probably stealing, probably doing beer runs. Who knows what they're doing? Problem teens. Nobody wants to touch them. They're a problem child. They're a problem child. Too many of these kids that have ran away. They brought up Tristan Bailey. She didn't run away. She snuck out of the house. Thought she was going to have some fun. Mother's Day weekend. And she was killed by that psychopath. Now let's get back to Sebastian, because I don't believe he ran away either. And I don't like it being labeled that way. He just walked out the door. You're going to take the Proud Feets? You're going to take their word for it? No. This was very interesting. I came across from Evil Exists. We'll probably have to go through it a couple of times because I missed this as well. Law enforcement won't confirm that Sebastian left barefoot.
Rogers is still missing, and I must say a lot of the drama and speculation has stopped since Chris, Katie and Seth have been quiet on panels recently. Maybe the Proudfoots have taken a step back from YouTube now and are focusing on spending time with Faith for the summer. Seth spoke out on a news interview yesterday. He said that
and maybe I'm in the minority here. By the way, is it safe to say the word minority in 2024? You know, I was labeled a racist not too long ago. Let me find another word. Maybe I'm one of the few that find it very bizarre that Chris Proudfeet, that the Proudfeets have Faith for the summer, considering there is an open CPS investigation into how Sebastian was treated. Fail, fail, fail.
that he has private investigators on the case, so I take it he hired new ones. He is clearly still working with Tony Mathis too. This morning, I've been going through old interviews that law enforcement did, right at the beginning of the Sebastian Rogers case. Something caught my attention that I want to share with you today. Katie Proudfoot was insisting that Sebastian left the house barefoot. I couldn't wrap my head around why that was such a big thing from the beginning. When asked about it, she said he didn't have many shoes because he had outgrown them and they were in the process of getting new shoes. She checked and all his shoes were there. None of them were missing, so she then started telling everyone that he left barefoot. What about sock? Did she check all his pairs of socks too? Anyway, we heard that Sebastian didn't like to be dirty or walk around with no shoes on because of an unfortunate incident he had with fire ants when he was younger. So, I just couldn't wrap my head around why he would walk out the house without shoes on. Was he carried out and they forgot his shoes, and that's why Katie was so certain? It's just odd. Anyway, getting back to the police interview. The law enforcement officer states that mom said she checked and all his shoes were at home, but he is not going to say Sebastian left barefoot. Just find this interesting. Take a listen.
Seem to be barefoot at this point.
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
Okay, I'm going to go back to this. This guy looks like, he looks like a movie actor calling somebody. I said it before. My brain's not working today. I got a lot going through my brain. So when law enforcement is saying we can't confirm that he left barefoot, can't confirm, but his mom says all his shoes have been accounted for. He doesn't believe them. Listen to this again. I'm going to go back a little further.
Barefoot. What about sock? Did she check all his pairs of socks too? Anyway, we heard that Sebastian didn't like to be dirty or walk around with no shoes on because of an unfortunate incident he had with fire ants when he was younger. So, I just couldn't wrap my head around why he would walk out the house without shoes on. Was he carried out and they forgot his shoes, and that's why Katie was so certain? It's just odd. Anyway, getting back to the police interview. The law enforcement officer states that mom said she checked and all his shoes were at home, but he is not going to say Sebastian left barefoot. Just find this interesting. Take a listen.
Seem to be barefoot at this point.
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
He said, I'm not going to say that he's barefoot. So if you're just going to walk out the front door for whatever reason, wouldn't you put your shoes on? Wouldn't you? The way that they're investigating this case in Sumner County is as if he is a runaway. All his shoes are accounted for. Oh, okay. Okay. All my shoes aren't accounted for. You know why? Because I don't know how many pairs I have. I like to buy shoes. What about his underwear? Did he take extra underwear with him? How do we know he walked out the front door? They don't know. They don't know. I go back to a theory another woman had in here, and I wish she'd come back because it was awesome. She said, how do we know that between the restaurant and the house, Katie didn't tell him with their extreme punishments to just get out and walk home, find your way home. I'm not dealing with you. Hence why the dogs had no fresh scent of him around there. And by the way, Barefoot, they would have a fresh scent. You have got to be kidding me. Well, guys, that's all I've got for today. I think it has been a great show. And just keep these kids' names out there. If you missed the show yesterday about Michael Vaughn, please go and catch up on it. We had a lot of stuff to go back through. And I just hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. Thank you so much to the Mod Squad. Thank you so much to you old strangers and you new strangers. Tell you what, you guys are the absolute backbone of this channel. You are the channel. You are the channel. And let's go ahead and give another shout out to old DT Driver because he's 49 today. All right, it's been a great show and you are great friends, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will see you back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. What do you want to do tomorrow? Do you want to do a members live? Do you want to catch up on another case? I'll put a poll up and we will figure it out as friends. Again, you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy this cooler weather that has come through to some areas. Love you bunches.